You might be saying all the right things, and still nobody hears you. You repeat yourself, try to explain better, use polite words, even change your tone. But the message doesn't land. It gets lost, twisted, turned into noise. And the worst part? It feels like you're the problem. Maybe you are, but not because you speak wrong. It's because you never learned how to listen. We grow up thinking communication is about speaking well. But the kind of communication that truly transforms doesn't start with the mouth. It starts with the ear. And before you roll your eyes and think this is just coach talk, listen. What comes next will force you to rethink not only what you say, but who you are while saying it. Because maybe you're sabotaging every single conversation, even the ones that never began. You talk, but no one listens. Or worse, they hear you, but don't actually listen. They only catch what they want, twist it however they can, answer you as if you were someone else. And then that sting of injustice hits. But I only told the truth. I was clear, I was respectful. So why did they get it so wrong? Because you started talking when you should have started listening. Most people enter a conversation wanting to convince, to teach, to win, but rarely do they stop to truly listen. And listening is more than silence. It's paying attention to what wasn't said, the fears, the values, the hidden wounds. If you ignore that, your words turn into noise, even if you're right, even if your intentions are good. You say freedom, they hear rebellion. You say change, they hear threat. You say safety, and it sounds like control. Words don't carry power on their own. They only gain strength when they touch something the other person already carries inside. And if you don't understand their inner world, your words just bounce back, weak, empty, dead. So you try to fix it, repeat, insist, raise your voice. But the more you talk, the more they shut down, because they're not hearing what you say. They're reacting to how they feel while hearing you. Want to be heard? Start with the other person, with their world, their scars. You won't be heard for being clear. You'll be heard for being in tune with what they value. And if that bothers you, maybe you still don't understand the weight of a word. Words carry baggage, smell, history. They're not just sounds, they're triggers. Switch sacrifice for commitment, control for care. Same idea, opposite reaction. Words touch old memories. They awaken traumas, beliefs, wounds. You try to warn, it sounds aggressive. You try to comfort, it sounds bossy. You try to unite and you push away, not out of malice, out of lack of sensitivity. So here's the question that changes everything. Do you really want to be heard? Or do you just want to unload what's in your head? Because if it's the first, treat every word like a choice, like a door that can open or close. Notice how the phrases that stick in our minds are short. Less is more. It's going to be fine. Focus, strength, faith. Simplicity isn't weakness. It's emotional intelligence. Simple speech goes straight to the brain and straight to the heart. We think fancy words impress, but complicated talk hides. Simple talk reveals. And that's why it's hard to say something deep with few words. Simplicity takes courage. Courage to cut the excess, to kill the ego, to choose the essential. You can have the perfect phrase, but if people don't believe you, it means nothing. Credibility doesn't come from the phrase. It comes from the messenger, from silence, from action, from coherence. You talk about empathy, but judge. You talk about humility, but don't listen. You talk about truth, but hide it. And then you want to be taken seriously. Doesn't matter how polished the speech is if your body gives you away. People feel it. The inconsistency screams. Trust is born when what you say, what you do, and who you are line up. You can convince by force, but you only transform with coherence. Want to really touch someone? Tell a story, not a chart, not a number, a real person, a conflict, a breakthrough. The brain understands stories, not graphs. Want to teach discipline? Show someone failing 90 days in a row before getting it right. Want to show empathy? Show someone being heard after years of silence. It's the scene that sticks, not the technical phrase. You can say, "This is hard," or you can describe lowered eyes, short breath, sweat on the forehead. That's what leaves a mark. When you turn concept into metaphor, the idea becomes memory. But repetition matters too. Not empty repetition, purposeful repetition. Slogans stick because they've been repeated 1,000 times. Repetition builds familiarity, trust, authority. Say something once, it's an opinion. 3 times, a belief. 100 times, truth. But words age, they lose meaning, change clothes. Revolution once was fire. Today it might sound like a joke. Family, freedom, justice, all of them shift with time. And if you don't shift too, you'll be talking to a world that no longer exists. To communicate is to feel the present, to notice when a word has lost its heat. It's not about throwing away ideas, it's about updating the language that carries them. Because if your words don't touch the now, they won't touch anyone. Want to be heard? Then stop sounding like a robot. Stop repeating lines you don't even believe. Stop talking like a LinkedIn lecture. Speak like a human, like someone who's failed, who's been ignored, who's been hurt. Because that's where the power is. In raw truth, not polished performance. And if this hit you, type "that one hurt" in the comments. I read them all, because I was once that guy too. The one who spoke beautifully, and no one listened. The one who explained with logic and was brushed aside, until I realized the problem wasn't my content, it was the lack of connection. We try to earn respect with arguments, but respect is born from identification. We connect with those who lived what we lived, with those who speak from the ground, not from the pedestal. That's why the strongest words aren't the prettiest written, they're the ones most lived. Now think, how many times have you been misunderstood? How many times did you try to fix it by talking more, and only made it worse? Exactly. Communication isn't about quantity, it's about presence. Sometimes a pause says more than 1,000 words. Sometimes listening in silence transforms more than shouting to convince. You speak every day, with friends, co-workers, family, strangers, but are you really being heard, or just filling the air? Language is the bridge between what you feel and what the other understands. If that bridge is weak, everything collapses into noise. But if it's strong, it transforms, it heals, it brings people closer. So here's the challenge. In your next conversation, trade the urge to reply for the choice to listen. Trade the ready-made argument for an honest question. Trade the fear of looking weak for the courage to be real, because every word you use neither brings people closer or pushes them away. Now tell me in the comments, what word did you realize you've been using wrong and will rethink starting today? What idea from this video made you stop and reflect? If you made it this far, that's already a sign. But what you do after this, that's another story. And if you want this kind of wake-up call more often, hit subscribe. This isn't motivation. This is reality. Sometimes one phrase changes your day, other times it changes your whole life.